Hello, everyone. Welcome to my first ever episode of Knowledge Returned, a community channel where we talk about spirituality, emotions, energy, and the ego, among other things. I'm using this space to hopefully clarify and demystify the topic of spirituality and make it commonplace to talk about it. In doing so, I'm going to use some of my experiences, life in general, and also share some of my spiritual remembering journey that I've been having along the way to hopefully give you some examples about spirituality. So, let's get into it. Being that it's my first episode, be prepared for a lot of errors, nervousness, and just saying something incorrectly that I'll hopefully clean up later before I share with you. But the main topic is to talk about spirituality. And why talk about it now? We're talking about it now is because if you're not experiencing it or feeling it now, you have to realize time is changing. Things are changing. Hopefully for the better, but the times are changing. And being more in tune with who you are is becoming more important than what people are telling you, or what society has dictated for you to pursue. So in order to try to see how does this fit in with life, what does this have to do with spirituality, it's the point of remembering who you are, remembering what you are, remembering why you are. And in doing so, we have to talk about spirituality and energy. And to be clear, I'm not talking about religion. I'm talking about the energy and spirit. Just to give you a little background about myself of why me and why am I speaking about it. First of all, why not? But secondly, is because my entire life experience I've known about spirituality and energy. I just didn't have the language to share it. And also, I didn't realize that many people didn't know what I was experiencing, or many people did not experience what I was experiencing in my life. So I was that child many, many moons ago who happened to know things without the experience of it. So for example, I would consider myself an empath, someone who can get dreams and messages and dreams, be able to interpret them, and actually talk to my spirit guides. And now that particular piece was something that I had to learn early on that a lot of people did not do or could not experience. And early on, I understood the difference between my personal thoughts and my spirit guide. I understood how to trust what I was receiving without experiencing it firsthand. And that happened fortunately for me early on in my years versus my adult years. So now that I'm like 50 something years old, it's commonplace. It's common for me. It's another sense. It's just every day for me to experience that. Now this is something, as old as I am, that I just did not share with my family, my friends, coworkers, or anyone. So yeah, I'm just coming out of the blue for people who know me and sharing this type of information. But I thought it was important now during this time so that people realize that they're not alone if they are experiencing this type of information. They're not alone if they are having these type of experiences. And it's actually more common and more natural to be in that mode of experience than it is not to. That is where we want to go eventually, to be reconnected with who we are in our spiritual self. That's where we want to go. That's what we want to experience. Everything that's going on now that prevents us from looking within ourselves is a distraction. So it is taking that time to reconnect is the piece, is a part of it that helps us through this life. The time now calls for clarity, truth, and oneness. That's what the time calls for. And hopefully my experience will resonate with some, that just gets them to question and wonder for themselves, and then explore for themselves so they understand what I'm talking about. If you are already experiencing some of the things I'll be talking about, good for you. Stay along for the journey if you wish. But if it's not new to you and you are looking for clarity, or you are looking for a community that is experiencing or has the goal of experiencing and understanding and clarifying spirituality, life in general, again, stick along. Tag along for the ride. So why me? Why now? Other than why not? And I would have to say around 2020, around the time of the pandemic, and you will probably hear a lot of people talk about this. This was the time for me where my spiritual remembering journey was transformed and kick-started. Among having a dream and then spiritual guidance about specific things, it just skyrocketed from that point on. And a lot of things haven't been the same since. However, like I said, it was a spiritual remembering journey for me versus a spiritual awakening journey. And that's because a lot of things I used to do as a child were coming back to me. The things that were normal to me to experience as a child were coming back as normal and not as a one-off experience. It was what I was experiencing at that time. And so it was for me to remember all of those instances growing up, things that I had been doing, knowing, and experiencing that they were not flukes. They were purposeful. And I needed to remember them so I can get back to that point as a starting point, and then another level from there. Everybody's journey will be different. Everyone's experience will be different. And I'll just be sharing mine. Much of my spiritual remembering journey was me questioning the status quo. Basically questioning life, questioning why. Specifically struggles, chaos, the treatment of people in a negative way. A lot of that, a lot of my remembering, and a lot of my responses have come from just questioning why. Why is this happening? Why does that happen? Why does someone do this? Why does someone do that? Why don't we see that this world is actually abundant, but we're made to believe that the resources are scarce. We're made to believe we need to fight for everything that we want. We're made to believe that struggle is what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to struggle. I'm like, why? Why do we have to struggle? Why does everything have to seem like a struggle? And what's weird is that with that question, and then my opposing life experience, I've always said, I want my life to be easy. And so during this process, I said, I want my life to be easy. I don't want to struggle. I don't want to have to fight and prove myself and do this to get what I want. It has to be an easier way. There has to be another way. And so, yeah, when you're connected with your spiritual guides and you're connected with your inner self, you'll get answers. And it was like, yeah, you don't have to struggle. You do create your experiences. So if your experience is to struggle, then you will struggle. If your experience is to have an easy life, you'll have an easy life. Now the caveat with that is that you don't live in a bubble. You live with other people. You live in the world with other humans who have to navigate that same thing that you're navigating. So even if you do want that easy life, you'll always pit against and challenge that with other people and other experiences. So a part of life is that lesson, and how do you navigate that? If your goal is to live easy and you're faced with a challenge, what decision do you choose to continue to have your life be easy? And still get the things you want. And that's the key. Knowing exactly what you want. Again, we're made to believe that we all want the same things. And that is not true. So once we come to terms with that, and knowing what we truly want, from a soul, inner perspective, and aligned with that, life does become a little bit more easier. We're then not chasing what someone else's goals and dreams and experiences are. We're striving for our own. And that may not look like what society tells us it looks like. And so the thing is, how do you experience what you're supposed to experience based on how your inner self and your soul and your spirit has designed for you to experience? So that's what most of life is about. It's a big learning school. Like, what's the purpose of life? To learn and experience. Through your experiences, to learn how to be better. Be a better human. Be a better spiritual person. And be better at being connected and in oneness with everyone else and everything else. And a part of that, which is so challenging in this world, is trying to remember who you are. Trying to remember who you are. So that's what we're going to talk about. That's what this channel is for. So hopefully you'll stick along. This might be interesting for you, but it will be a journey. It will be a ride. There will be hiccups on the road, on the way, and we'll see what happens. Hello, everyone. This is my correction video. So there's a few things I want to just touch upon. Number one, I forgot to introduce myself. Hello, this is Liz, Knowledge Return. Number two, I realized that it's hard to recreate a portion of the video when you're in flow. So this is something y'all gonna have to get through, and if you got to this point, you've gotten through it, and that was me. I must have had something to eat, and I am just going all through it. So excuse me for that, and thank you for sticking along with that. The third one was toward the end of the video, and I said this: I will get a saying wrong. I was trying to say, "Stay along for the ride" or "tag along." And I kind of jumbled the sayings up, but I think you get the meaning. So with that, welcome to Knowledge Return. And remember, this is a journey. So if you want to partake in the journey, stay along for the ride. And with that, thank you and welcome.